What will happen when it comes to the VeChain? So allegedly, it is anticipated that on September 16th, there might be an actual upgrade that could very well transform VeChain for the better and for the long haul. Let me explain what this is and what I think about VeChain currently, and I'll talk about the price quite soon when it comes to VET, which is VeChain's primary native token. But I first want to clarify, this is just my opinion, perspective. Nothing I say is financial advice, and I'm not telling anyone to do anything. Now, if we take a look at it, the interstellar upgrade is anticipated to fully come into fruition, like actually happen, on September 16th, somewhere along there, because it is expected to happen at around a block height of 25,902,540, in which case is expected to be reached at around Wednesday, September 16th. So again, that is an approximate timeline, but that begs the question though, then why is VET this low? Like, why is it still at a market cap of around 480 million? Like, why isn't this even at a billion in terms of market cap? Well, it's because an upgrade happening and a project doing well does not necessarily equal good demand, and it doesn't mean that the market overall is doing the best, because yes, in the past week, we've seen VET recover almost 26%. But it is not because of the anticipated, or the much anticipated, I should say, interstellar upgrade. It's not because of that. It's because the overall market, recovered, right? Slightly. Now, people may think, oh, it's going to go down again, but that remains to be seen. But regardless, I'm waiting for the long haul anyways, so this is kind of background noise. I'm not thinking about this time frame anyways. My time frame is years, not weeks or months. But regardless, the interstellar upgrade, if it were to actually happen, it's going to transform VeChain for the better, and it's going to go far beyond, a couple days, a couple weeks, or short-term price action. It's going to go far beyond that, and it's actually going to be something that could affect VeChain for the long haul. Keep in mind, the interstellar upgrade is supposed to allegedly greatly improve the Ethereum virtual machine, or should I say EVM, aspect of VeChain, which is, of course, a good thing in my opinion, because this is going to make it a lot more developer friendly, and it's also going to maybe attract more developers over the long haul. Keep in mind as well, Ethereum is a very popular layer 1 blockchain. So of course, any project out there that is having an improved aspect of EVM, or should I say Ethereum virtual machine, it's of course a good thing, right? Because a lot of projects out there are nowhere near as popular as Ethereum. So having an aspect of EVM and having that potentially be improved through an update, it would be a big victory for many projects out there, and it's no different here. The interstellar upgrade, the vote went through, so it's been approved, but it just needs to have some time to actually happen, which is quite normal. But I digress. People oftentimes like to ask me why I'm so obsessed over the long term. Like, why is that like something I'm so focused on? The reason why is because my mindset is years, right? So of course, naturally, I want to focus on projects that have a good use case. The reason why is because projects typically with a strong use case, with a good use case too, it usually is able to make it through market downturns and actually survive for the long haul, right? Because if something is useful, it's very hard to, ignore it, I guess, in a sense. It's like, for instance, is a bicycle useful? Arguably, I would say yes, which is why it was around many, many years ago, and it's still around right now, because it's useful. Imagine if Blockbuster had such a robust business model, it might still be popping, so to speak, right? But it didn't, so it's not too poppin' as of right now. That's just kind of the example that I have. It's like, for instance, Nokia. It was really good like a long time ago, but as of right now, people use like, Android, they use like, the iPhone and all that, at least primarily from what I've noticed. So it's kind of no different when it comes to this space. Hype, it can come and go, but a robust and good use case, it usually is what is able to kind of stick around for the long haul. If we take a look at it, for instance, something like Ace Hardware, right? A lot of people want to buy tools like, at Home Depot or whatever. And because the use case is there, it's been able to make it through many, many years. It's kind of no different here. That's why I'm so focused on the fundamentals, because that's typically what's going to allow a project to survive for the long haul anyways. So it's kind of no different when it comes to this. That's why I'm so focused on it. Now, VeChain, we have to keep in mind, it's historically very focused on supply chain management. which is a very evergreen market in and of itself because that market typically doesn't go out of style. But VeChain is now taking a little bit more of this different approach in a sense where they're taking a more fancy approach by as of late being focused on AI, which is not a bad thing because they're not ignoring their previous focus. They're still focused on that, but what they're doing is diversifying. They're diversifying a lot actually in 2026, which is very impressive in my opinion because a lot of other projects out there, they're running out of resources. They're closing up shop. They can't diversify as of right now in terms of being focused on so many other market sectors. The reason why is because they simply don't have the resources to do so, right? But VeChain in 2026 still has a partnership with the UFC, has a partnership with PowerSlap, and then also on top of that, diversifying its use case to, be really focused in regard to AI. Could you imagine that? That is not a sign of a project that is struggling, right? Sure, the price charts are not looking the best, but as a project, VeChain is not necessarily struggling in that sense. The price charts is really affected by the market sentiment overall. Usually the good fundamentals doesn't always translate to the price charts, which I don't mind though, because again, the good fundamentals is what's going to allow for it to survive over the long haul anyways. But on the flip side, when it comes to the price charts, people like to tell me, well, the recovery is around 26%, 25% in the past week, but this is still very low. Like for instance, if we take a look at just around back in December of 2024, the market cap was over 10 times higher. So people may be wondering, like, this is still very low, which I agree with. But I don't mind things being low because if it goes back to December 2024, I'm already very happy, actually. Now, I've said this before, but I'm just saying it's to kind of emphasize that VeChain does not need to break any sort of new records because if we take a look at it, for instance, again, VET going back to December 2024, it's around 10 times the movement. For Bitcoin to do that, for Ethereum to do that type of movement, it would need to break like new all-time highs, right? It would need to actually break significant records in order for it to come even anywhere close to that. But VeChain does not. It does not need to break any sort of new records to do that type of movement. So if it was able to reach that before, what would happen if the market recovers? Could it go back to around a 5 billion market cap? We'll wait and see, but it wouldn't surprise me just because it reached it before with it not being as good fundamentally when compared to right now. But I'll be sure to make more updates moving forward. So I want to say thank you so much for watching and I hope you all have a very nice day.